because a lot of women actually struggle to start businesses, right? So would you think that that's a good place to start safe sometimes and, just try your idea even for a pilot phase for some of us? Do you think it's possible to do?
Yeah, definitely. I think, see, the idea doesn't get started for various reasons. I think primarily there is a risk factor, which is just a mental risk, and there's obviously the financial risk as well as the lack of finances itself. So if you get a little bit of amount which sort of nullifies this risk to the extent that it's not so large, the amount that you sort of risked, it will get that first step going. Once that first step goes, what I see is that entrepreneurs get confidence. So if you think that you can take somebody's money, put it to good use, that will justify your own proposition that I can do it. And I think that is actually a biggest stumbling block, bigger than sometimes even access to finances. As we'll go along, we'll see there are various options of finances, but there's always this worry of if I take somebody's money, how will I service it? Whether it's by returning the money to a bank or committing to somebody, that I will deliver a performance.
Right. So I think when I was talking to Veena, she mentioned that it's a great starting point to learn how to deal with a bank. How to deal with a financial institution. Something that a lot of women don't walk into a bank and even ask the question, is there a loan available? Right? So it might be a great starting point for some of us, right? To actually just try and experiment and learn the questions asked, learn how to deal with the entire thing, learn with pitching an idea even, literally at that point. So I think once we go through the first part, we then come to that we obviously need more money. Every business always needs money. Even today I need money, though I've raised money and I'm perpetually looking for more money. So I think we're all going to be there. And I think that's why panels like this are perfect. So I think from there what you then start to look at is, can you raise money from a bank? That's, generally the next question that comes up to everybody. We obviously have Saraswat Cooperative Bank here and we have Urvashi. So Urvashi, if you can tell us, how do we approach banks? What are the kind of things we should look for when we go to banks, and what's available with Saraswat Cooperative, to help us?
Hello, good afternoon to all of you. And I wish everyone happy International Women's Day. It's very nice, lovely to see the auditorium where all women are there. Nowadays all women are doing something, standing on their own feet. Some business, some other activities. So many avenues are available. Service industry, manufacturing, trading, everywhere we see women are really marching ahead and ahead. Here when in the beginning it was asked how many are already doing business, how many are already having accounts. Not the entire auditorium, but at least 40% are already in that job and some are not. When as a banker, I look after the marketing for micro as well as small scale industries for Saraswat Cooperative Bank. This is the #1 urban cooperative bank, having business over 35,000 crore, having branches all over India, and in Mumbai we are having the many branches. And Reserve Bank is also very generous to women, I must say, because in a banking sector, advances given to women come under a priority sector advances, and every banker has to at least give 40% of their total advances to priority sector. As on March, when the results are out, Reserve Bank checks how much priority sector advance is being given, and advances to we women are included in that. So different banks have different schemes also for women. We have Udyogini scheme. I will be circulating you the details of the scheme. But here for my own experience, I would like to say, many times women come to us, they say, ma'am, we want loan. Then we ask what business you are doing. She may say we are doing gift article business, textile business, or serving snacks and all. How long you are doing business? She may say I'm doing for the last 4 years. But then when I ask her the details, she can't tell. She says I'm doing it perfectly well, but I am in a need of finance, so please give me a finance. I want to purchase gala, I want to purchase raw material. Doing for the 4 years the business, but still she can't show any proof. Why this happens? Because they have a habit of just collecting a cash, using that same cash for the business expenses. So okay, if I know her well and all, I know that she is really doing good business. But as a banker, you will require to show some proof to the bank. Because when bankers are parting money, it is depositors' money. So when you are parting with it, you have to see thoroughly that it is being utilized properly. So each and every businesswoman should always first have a savings or current account. Current account you can have when you are doing business. You have to get a shop and establishment license first. Or if a saving account, if you are doing it individually for say microfinance, then whatever business income you get, you have to deposit in that account, and whatever expenses you have to incur for the business, from the same account you have to spend. Then only you can create a record. You yourself will know how much cash you are generating daily, how much expenses you are using for business, what are your actual profits. Because somewhere you have to note down on that. No doubt in a business we are very busy in manufacturing, in selling the product, marketing it, earning more and more, incurring less costs, and gaining ultimate aim is to earn profit. So naturally, in spite of all this, banking you should not look that it is such a troublesome job. My God, I have to enter into a bank, I have to fill up the big form, how to do that. Such things should not happen in your case. Nobody should feel that way. Actually, you should consider bankers as your good friend. Now, the form which we ask, we just want to know the information of you. Now, business you can start as a sole proprietor. If you are having good friends doing business on the same line, you can have it in a partnership firm, or you can have it in a limited liability of partnership, or some can form a small private limited company also. So advances in this form of a woman can be covered under scheme for women. So that is most important. Whatever business you decide, now up to 2 lakhs, it's against clean personal guarantee the advance can be given. Then no other security is required. And the repayment maximum up to 5 years you can get. So you have to calculate how much my EMI comes, equated monthly installment, that is EMI, and whether I am being able to pay that much, whatever profit I am generating from my business. So my aim is always to reduce cost as far as possible, and interest is also an additional burden for the finance raised by you. So naturally, nowadays, technology has made our job so easy. Different banks have different schemes. On websites you can see those schemes. Find out how much is the cost for my advance, how much I have to pay, what will be my total interest till my loan gets repaid, and that is the cost for my business. So easier, less the cost, easy I get the funds, quickly I get the fund, as and when I need I get the funds, then naturally you should choose that bank, because service is most important, and the bank which helps you in that is always better. Sometimes what happens, we show some good business projection and all, we try our best to do our business as efficiently as possible, earn more and more profit. But certain circumstances are beyond our control, and in such cases we are not able to fulfill those repayment schedule. Here I would like to say that the bankers are your best friend. You have to come to them, tell your difficulties well in advance. In such cases, bankers do help you in giving reschedulement of your loan installment, so that it will be easier for you to repay that advance and that burden that I have to pay, because as Veena Madam has said in the earlier, that women are very prompt in payment. I have also that same experience. Advance given to women, the recovery part is very fast, arrears are very less. So bankers are also willing for that. So even if you have any difficulty, treat them as a friend, meet them, tell your difficulties in advance. Then any banker would be happy to help you. Secondly, document part also, ma'am, I would like to say. Now the bankers tell you to sign on this document, and you blindly go on signing it. But it is your right to ask for which documents you are signing. You can ask for the second set of those documents. That is always good. It is always to be safe. You should know which papers you are signing. Now if the advance required is more than 5 lakhs, in that case, in addition to the main security means what? Whatever stock you are having of your product in which you are dealing. If you want to purchase a bigger shop, then a mortgage of that shop, or if you want to sell the goods on credit, then your debtors are the security for the bank. But if the advance is more than 5 lakhs, then you will be required to give some collateral security to the banks. Here, collateral in the form of whatever loan amount, it depends, 20 to 30% of that can be given as a collateral security, provided the advance is more than 5 lakhs. Now here some may say certain banks do give without collateral. You must have heard that there is Credit Guarantee Trust Fund scheme. This fund is organized by SIDBI, and they are all public sector banks are the member of that scheme. So they can give any loan up to 1 CR without collateral cover. Now government is going to increase this limit to 2 CR. So in that case you may get advance without collateral security.
So can I recap this a little just to make it a little clearer? So if I understood rightly, up to 2 lakhs I can get a loan without any collateral on a personal guarantee. Up to 5, from 5 onwards, I'm going to start to need some collateral that I need to provide. And then there is also this scheme from the government where there is up to 1 crore available under the MSME scheme with nationalized banks that you can reach out to.
Yeah.
But one of the things that you mentioned, Urvashi, which was very important, is how many people out here are actually managing their accounting systems. Like she said, you actually got cash, you went and you deposited it, you didn't utilize it. How many people are doing that religiously and have that habit? Okay, so now this is half of the number of people who put up their hands earlier on who said that they had bank accounts. That means the ones who had bank accounts were not utilizing them as bank accounts. They were really utilizing them as a document that they showed, right? So I think what is really important is the rigor. I think that's really come across. And I think if you don't have that rigor, going from debt to angel will not be an option. So I'm going to let Paula talk about it, but I'll just give you a small experience of my own. When I started to raise capital, one of the first things that my family told me was, even if you're using my office, my dad's office, I had to pay rent for it, right? And they said, no, it needs to be in the books. I had to take a salary. I might not withdraw my salary because I had a cash flow issue and I take it 20 days later or whatever, but I had to put in a salary for myself. So I think the rigor comes not only from just putting in the money, but actually putting in your actual expenses, actually putting in your actual income, right? And, like you said, I'd love to know where the priority lending is, because I remember when I was raising debt and I'd reached out to TAI at that time, every bank which said on their website they had a 1% waiver for women entrepreneurs. I went to every bank, right? And every bank manager told me, it's on the website where? So a lot of people don't necessarily know. So sometimes you have to point it out. So I would urge you as an entrepreneur myself that do your homework. Sometimes it makes sense to go and tell them. Now that I've heard the priority banking, you have for 40%, I'm going to go back to my bank and say, where is my option? So I think with that, it's a perfect lead on into Paula. And, so I'll give you my experience of Paula before I let her talk. So she's been trying to mentor me from time to time whenever I reach out to her. And the reason I'm saying this is because today I was hearing a lot of conversations in the background where people were saying, can I get mentors? I'd like to know more about a sector and things like that. So you can find mentors around you, and Paula is one such, at least for me. But the thing is, reach out to them, and you will be able to find people that will be able to help you. So Paula, over to Angel and demystifying Angel, equity, VC, everything.
Thanks, Shilpi. Good afternoon, everyone. I think we've sort of set the stage for going further and understanding how we can look at different aspects of funding. Angel is a very sort of misquoted word, because sometimes angels can become demons. So let's just understand what this whole thing is about. We talked about various kind of debt here, and obviously when you start a business, you need to what we call capitalize it. Right? You have to put in something which you will call as the capital in that company, and that is usually your own, so that you own it. And that's how the ownership is defined. So this is what will define the equity of your company. Now, while you're running the business, assuming that you put in all the rigor that has been talked about, in that you actually register the company, you actually have the legal documentation to prove that you or whoever else along with you is the owner. The company has some sort of an entity where it is either a partnership, sole proprietorship, or a private limited or LLP. Assuming you do all that, so that you really have a company which exists and not just a business that you're running. So there, when you're thinking little long term, like Urvashi pointed out, you must understand the reason you must have all these things in place. That you're not just running a business, or you're not just generating some income, you're actually founding a company, and it has its own identity. And that's why I think Shilpi brought out a very important point. It must reflect what it is about. Its own identity is the fact that it has certain expenses which are required to make certain revenues. It has certain liabilities, it has certain equity, and it has a certain plan. This is all independent of everything else, so it must be very well contained within the company itself. So you must reflect where you're getting your raw material from, what kind of credit you have from there, who's your buyer, why are you selling it to them and not to somebody. Sometimes you just sell to somebody because they happen to approach you, or they just gave you some higher price for it. That's really not your plan. And here I'll deviate a little bit from the kind of documents or kind of paperwork that a bank would need. If you're looking to firstly make a good company, you will have a plan. You will realize that I will sell to somebody opportunistically, but eventually I must know who my market is, what my market is, and hence gear everything, including the price point for that market. If you're all over the place, if you're catering to the corporate versus catering to the dabbas, to the lady downstairs, it's a different business model, it's a different price point. So whatever your business, at some point, once you've at least made a start, articulate that at least to yourself. All that will help when you go to anybody for money, or for that matter for any strategic partnership, or to get credit from your suppliers, or any of that. Now when you come to equity lending, or when you talk about an angel, what are they going to do? Firstly, if you have some company, it's an idea that you have already sort of crystallized. You have maybe made little headway in it. You may not have put too much money in it. You may not have even gone to banks or have taken any lending. But you're showing traction, what we call traction. So you're actually doing transactions, you're selling. Now, when you want somebody to buy into this idea, you go to somebody who you think could be a mentor and could be willing to share your risk and could be willing to do the journey with you. So this is why we call this equity partner an angel, because he's somebody who not only is going to give you money but be part of your journey, will mentor you through and sort of see that it's going to be very tough. Any business that you start is tough, so will help you through with that. So here it's very important, whoever you go to get money into your company as what we call equity, which means they will own a part of your company in place of the money that they give you. They must be aligned with your vision, that you want to make a mark in catering, in gifting, in selling fish, whatever it is that you're doing, and where do you want to grow, at what rate you want to grow, and then they will give you the capital for that particular plan. So this angel is really like a partner then, and that's the difference. You have to service this person who has given you money by giving him equity so that it partly owns your company, and you have to service their expectations. There is not money that you have to give back, but results that you have to give back. So it's a different type of partnership and a different type of money that you've taken compared to debt. Now there are always pros and cons. The angel, if you're desperate for money, you take money from anybody, and somebody may just be excited by your business and give you money, but may have totally different plan for you. And then the divergence would start and there would be stress, because actually they own equity in your company, which means they are a part owner, which means they do have some say. So you have to think through all this before you take what is called angel money. And again, just like a bank, before an angel gives you money, even if it's not demanded by the angel, you must have all your paperwork in place. Otherwise, you can lose your entire company, you can lose your capital, and more than anything, you lose trust and friendship. So all these are very important components of just going and getting equity money. Once you get the equity money and you start utilizing it, you may still require working capital for which you may need to go for debt. At that point in time, it's always nice to have an angel who can add value by guiding you through these processes, to connecting you, to the right people who can give money, also guiding you in terms of planning your cash flows so that you can service the kind of debt you bring into your company. So there are a lot of good positives when you take in a partner or an angel funder who is in sync with you and who can, like Shilpi said, maybe even mentor you and take you to a further step. Maybe later I can talk about VC funding. I think for now, this is sort of enough background on what equity is about.
Yes. So, Paula, we meet a lot of people who come to us and say, okay, I want angel money. Yeah. Everybody thinks it's the easiest thing to find, right? It's not that easy, and it's not that easy to manage, right? So, what do you tell people? I know you've given us some guidance, but what do you tell them to look out for? I know being aligned with the business goal is one. But how do you make sure that this person that you've started to meet today, and he tells you tomorrow morning, I'll give you money, do you take it literally like that? Or, what is it that you invest from as an entrepreneur perspective? Because, like, I remember myself when I took my VC investment, I actually went to my VC and said, I'm a woman and I am very emotional, right? And I am going to react, right? And I know I had my set of arguments and fights and resolves and happy moments and everything, but it was very clear that I was that kind of person, and if I had a thought in my head, I had to go and tell my VC. But I needed my VC to know that upfront, that I am like this, right? And can you deal with me? So what do you tell women entrepreneurs? What do they do? Because now it's like getting into a marriage, right? You've got into bed with this partner, and it's going to be difficult to break away. So what should they think of before they really go down this road?
So from an entrepreneur's perspective, you see, you are parting with two things. One is you're parting with your equity, right? You're diluting your own stake in a company. So obviously you must really firstly want the money, and you must want that person's money or that institution's money. So it sounds cliched, but you really have to see whether there is a mutual trust that is possible between the two. And again, there are no formulae, but very simple things like, does he listen to what you're saying, or he just wants to put the money? Is it just the money talk, okay, or is it more than the money talk? Because at early stage, it cannot be just the money talk, because nobody can give returns overnight. It's not like putting the money and taking it a 10x tomorrow. Now every VC and every angel is putting in money to make it grow. There is really no other reason. There is social impact capital, what we call patient capital, yes, which is really to support an idea, to support a class of people who are trying to make an impact on society. I think Shilpi is aware of those kind of VCs. But there again, they are putting in the money to a plan. And it is very important that you deliver on that plan. So with whatever kind of VC money or angel money you take, you have not only to have a trust and so what we call the softer values. What Shilpi said, that's whether you're able to tell openly what you feel and where you think you're going and why you are doing it. There also has to be a complete sync on the strategy going forward, so that you're halfway through starting a unit in a particular way or starting a services in a particular way, and the angel, somebody tells him, or the VC says, oh, this industry is not correct, just go the e-commerce way. You can't overnight shift. So again, the plan has to be clearly communicated, and you have to see whether it is understood. Now this would come, when you pitch, the kind of questions which come to you. Sometimes you will get a VC or an angel telling you totally different things, and it may be a good thing that you may be on a completely different path, and you may have never thought of the biggest obstacle that is there. So, you may have just forgotten that it's going to cost me a lot to acquire this kind of customer, and you will not factor customer acquisition cost in at all. And when you put those numbers together, the whole plan falls apart. So what I'm trying to say is that you have to spend time with the VC or the angel. You have to see whether they are listening to you and whether you want to listen to them as well, because you will have to. There is no really way out. You do get an angel who is just giving you the money and let you be. Yes, you can have friends and family who do that. But remember, at any point, they are after all putting money for it to give some kind of return. And it is your responsibility. It is completely on you to make sure that you deliver on that. So it is a kind of a burden, if you may, in that sense. It's not a cash flow burden, but it is a burden that you have to deliver in terms of your performance. So this is extremely important who you take in. If they want 100% growth year on year and you are only geared for 25%, you have to make sure that they understand why. And if you can't do it, you can't do it. So the communication is very, very important. And again, transparency is utmostly important. And again, let me re-emphasize, you can't have it unless you have your systems in place. And without transparency, I mean, I've seen many cases where the relationships have fallen apart. It's destroyed the company, it's destroyed friendships because there is no transparency. If you yourself don't know where your expenses are, how will you show to your lender or to your equity partner? So that is of utmost importance when you must be ready to discipline yourself when you take it on.
So I remember when I started, the first thing my VC gave me was an MIS report and said start reporting. And I had never created a report in my organization on a monthly basis before that. And then my report every quarter got added to it. A client list got added to it. New markets got added to it. And it was a learning curve for us perpetually, and it yet is, because even now we have new requirements that keep coming in. So, I think enough from us. Let's get some questions on the floor. If we can move some mics around the floor, is that possible? Yeah. So, please.
We have my entrepreneurial experience, which is I think one of the first things is a lot of us come up with an idea which is new. And we feel that because the idea is new, it's so remarkable, it's definitely going to work. And it's very hard to attract funding for that. The best thing to do for that is really to get friends and family as your first angel investor. And for example, like when I started, urban microfinance was completely new, this type of individual lending in an informal environment. So what I did was I piloted with 2 branches. Now 2 branches were never going to become profitable, but I put in money from friends and family, from myself. I didn't take a salary, I accounted for it, but made sure that I have something to show the banker or the investor who comes that look, this idea works. And it's got the capability to become profitable. It may not be profitable today, but it's a successful idea which has a market, which can scale. So I think that's, particularly if you have a new idea, very important to have some metrics of success to show potential equity and debt funders.
That's perfect. So I think we have a question there. Can you just introduce yourself by name?
Yes, my name is Prajakta, and thank you very much. It's been a good discussion. And my question is directed to Paula ma'am. Is VC funding, equity funding is fine, and when you start a relationship with a VC or an equity or an angel investor, we all start on a good note. But somewhere down the line, like most marriages can go bad, these kind of partnerships also can go bad. And what is the exit clause that we can have? I mean, both obviously, the investor and the business entrepreneur, so that when you part amicably.
Sure. So, when you sign your term sheet, before even you sign your SSA, you must look at all the exit clauses. The VCs are tough because they are actually investing money to give a return. There are certain exit clauses. There are also certain rights that they take. So you must be aware of them. And you similarly, if the founder is leaving the company, then the VC will take stake in the company and so on. So there are both ways. So you must read that very well even before the agreement is framed. And most VCs have standard clauses. There are also tag along rights. So if there is an additional investor or a M&A opportunity that a VC brings, you have limited rights to say yes or no and so on, because everybody has to dilute when another investor comes and so on. All these together will define how the relationship would be in case of a disagreement of getting new investment or to exit out. By and large, if both of them agree that this is not working, they will do what is best for both. So again, if it's a good relationship, nobody wishes ill, and you part on a good note. Clearly that doesn't happen most of the times, because everybody's trying to maximize, everybody's lost money, it's never a good thing. So at this point, I think you have to see how do you limit the damage. What you want is to go out without a very negative feedback following you around. At the same time, you don't want to be taken advantage of. All you can do is, whatever your share is, whatever the fair valuation, you take that and go. Let the company be managed either by them. If the VC decides he wants to leave it, they would just write it off, and then you can run the company as you want. Many times there are status quos. The VC is not interested, entrepreneur just keeps running, or vice versa. There are no formulae, but the best thing to do is to look at the agreement very carefully before signing on the dotted line, and be aware of what kind of situations can come up.
In your experience, what has been the ratio in a good handshake exit, or in your experience?
So I think if we talk
Yeah, I got the questions. Yeah. So what kind of experience? See, again, it depends a lot on the management team and the relationship between the management team. In our own personal experience, we've had maybe about 5 companies which we've had to sort of turn off, as we say. I think only in 2 cases. In one case, the management actually was, there was an issue because they were taking some money away, and they were not being sort of transparent, and that was discovered later. So that was clearly the case, and actually nobody profited from it, neither them nor us. In a couple of cases, we both realized that this business model is not working. So we tried to merge it with another company at not a good valuation, but at least the company survived. The entrepreneurs were able to transition on for a bit and were given an option to then go away cleanly. In our case, at least 3 companies, it has been very good, and the entrepreneurs have moved on and started other companies as well. So it depends, and how much. See, it will all depend on how much money the VC has burnt as well, and how the entrepreneur has been in terms of responding to all the red flags which have been raised.
So we have a question back there, and then we'll come to you next.
Yeah. Hi. Any one of you can answer this question actually. I co-own a site called sweetcouch.com, and I have some 3 VCs approaching. I'm in a fix. Which one or on what basis am I supposed to choose any one of them? Of course, the amount of money is one criteria, but I think it's much more besides that. So if you can guide me on that.
What is important for you? Why are you looking for the money? Is it just for the money?
No.
Then you go with the highest valuation, right?
No, like I just heard you saying that, more than money, it is mostly, if a person if it's on the same wavelength, that they are, their VCs, their funds are also directed towards the same intention as you want your site to grow. So is that all, or would you like to add to that actually?
Can I add to that? Okay, so what I tell you is, what is it that you want from that VC beyond the money? Money, then you go for the largest value that you get. It's a very simple answer, right? Do you want them to... So what's the skill set they also bring to the table, right? There are certain VCs who are very good at mentoring and help you grow the organization. There are some who will help you and say, okay, we can help you with the marketing strategy of it. We know people in this area. We can introduce you to some, right? Now, so you have to do a weighted average. Everybody will say everything. Now you sit down and figure out which one will give you the maximum value. You can't always sit on the fence and say each of them are even, because at some point you're going to have to make a choice. It's a choice as an entrepreneur of who you take on as an investor. So that's where you do that.
Yeah, only one more thing you could do is you could see the portfolio of each one of them and see if you can talk to some of the portfolio companies and get references, and that gives that's the best like a personal validation of what you're saying.
Perfect. So we had a question up here. If we can get a mic.
My question is for Urvashi ma'am. As she shared that there is a scheme for SMEs from SIDBI loan till 1 crore, or she says which they are going to increase till 2 crores. So is there any such scheme for the distribution business? Like I'm into baby product distribution. So is there such scheme especially for the women entrepreneurs or similar kind of thing?
This scheme of SIDBI is for SMEs, that is for manufacturing as well as service industry.
Okay.
So you are also eligible for that. Otherwise, for the women, different schemes. Now, as I said, Udyogini scheme is of Saraswat Bank. Now, you will ask me what is the special in this scheme. Now, suppose any male entrepreneur is doing business, then whatever rate of interest is having, less 1% interest for the woman entrepreneur. Now, whatever margin, own money you will have to invest in your business. Now, say suppose that margin for male is 30%, then for woman entrepreneur it is 20%. Similarly, the repayment of the loan, if it is 5 years for the male, 7 years for the women. Even the processing fee which the bankers charge for the loan, that is more to male entrepreneur and some concession to women entrepreneur. So these are the additional benefits they get through this scheme.
Anybody else would like? Okay, so we'll come here and then we'll come to you next.
Hello, I would like to ask 2 questions. First of all, like I'm a common person. I don't have any contacts. Where do I meet these VCs? Okay, first. Secondly, very
Joint tie.
Okay, and second question is this VC system, that as I'm understanding it, is it similar to sleeping partner and active partner? Is it the same thing or? Okay.
No, it's VC is an investor. Okay, so VC is an institutional entity and who will put in money into your company and buy shares of your company actually. So, and it needs to be an LLP or a private limited company in which they can invest.
So no smaller businesses than that?
No. I mean, even smaller, we have funded companies which didn't even exist. They've been incorporated after we sort of committed funding to them. But the point is, once you take funding from an investor like this, you'll have to go that route. So then you can't be a sole proprietorship and so on. I think most of the businesses we funded changed themselves to this. You can join TIE, I think, and there are a lot of mentoring sessions and introductions to VCs.
And is there a specific percentage which is of the profit? Is it standard or is it individual?
No, it's very, very individual. It will depend on the VC perception of that business, how it's going to grow in future. It's not based on a percentage or any of that.
So just before we move on to the next question, and then we have one there, so in your hand. Is Shweta also here? So I just want to introduce 2 people because you can connect with TIE. One is Z, who you've been seeing since morning from TIE, and the other is wondering, Shweta is here? Z, is she here? Okay, so I think at some point we should introduce Shweta also. So if you see either of them around, they're a good point to get to so that you get more advice going down. So we had a question there first, and then I'll come to you next.
My question is for ma'am regarding interest rates. Like, what is the interest rate that the scheme for 2 lakhs on personal guarantee and for 5 lakhs and for 1 crore? So, what is the interest rate?
Rate of interest doesn't depend on this amount-wise classification. For the woman entrepreneur, now bankers always have their minimum rate. Now, prime lending rate is the concept for Urban Cooperative Bank. So, that is the minimum they charge, and less 1% than the prime lending rate. So, here in this case, it will be 13.5 because present prime lending rate is 14.5. Now, Reserve Bank has removed this restriction. They are given individual banks to decide on their own rates of interest. And secondly, since this advance is under priority sector, naturally the rates of interest compared to other advances is less by 1%.
Thanks. We have a question at the back there.
Hello, I'm Asmita here. I'm in the starting stage of my business. I have not at all filed my returns and all that, but even not with the bank account. But is there any facility in the Saraswat Bank so they can give loan for the starting for the business and all?
Yes, madam. Even for the newcomers, no entertainment, we do give loan. Now, whenever anyone comes that I am doing my business and I want loan, first we study them, we ask the background. Why this woman has chosen particular business? What background she has for the business? Just because my friend is doing some gift article business, I also enter into that, where I don't have any knowledge or any idea or any liking for that business. And such business will not prosper. You should always, as an entrepreneur, I would like to tell all women, first do SWOT analysis. Find out what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses, in which business I can do better, and then jump into that business. But once you choose particular business, then don't take back from it. Because once you choose it, then do thoroughly well. Then only you will be successful. What is the background you have? Educational qualification or other things. How you have studied market for your business. Now, looking at those criteria, even the entry is new. Newcomer also we do give business. But if you satisfied all those things, if bankers also get confidence in you, okay, yes, whatever you have chosen, you will be doing it well. Whatever projection you have given for the next 5 years, you have that ability to complete it. Then based on that, you get finance.
So we have time for one last question. Sorry, everybody wants to ask. So I'm going to go to the last. On the top, let's do one person.
Hi everyone.
One second. We have something on top. Really sorry, but they got.
Whenever you want loan, whether it is from the VC or the angel or the bank, I think we need to give a business plan. Am I right?
Yes.
We need to project what we are anticipating, what is business going to be about.
Yes.
Somewhere I'm finding a lot of us are lost in that, It depends. If you give a very good projection, it's likely that you're going to get the loan. So who is going to help you in giving you have it all in your head, maybe putting it on paper and really projecting yourself. Somewhere if there is a lack of it, how does one work around it?
Bankers also help you to prepare your project report. There are financial consultants like chartered accountants who do help entrepreneur to prepare their business report. Now here also whatever information they are putting in on the paper, it is you who are guiding them. They may ask you which business, how much sale do you expect, on what basis you say this particular figure. Now suppose every year you say 20% rise will be there, then on what basis, what are your likely expenditure? Certain expenditure are fixed, while certain are fluctuating expenses. Now rent, rates, taxes, salary of your staff, telephone expenses, postage charges and the other. So these expenses you have to incur. Based on your turnover, certain expenses vary. So you yourself has to give all those details, only putting them into paper properly, nicely, so that like any company, prospectus if you see, they really are a rosy picture of that company. Now how much in reality it happens. So it all depends on you, how you give the information, and it is the financial consultant's practice of showing it properly to the banker.
So you mean to say the bank helps out in the whole layout of the project?
Yes, bank also helps. Also, financial consultants are also there who can help.
There are certain sessions that Ty runs on helping you make your business plan, and again you can connect with Ty on that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I think last closing argument, just the last statement from all the three of you. One last thing that you'd like this group to really do would be.
I think I'd just like to make a last statement taking off from the last question, that the plan always begins on the head, but a fundable plan must be on paper. So do have the discipline, whether you take it yourself, take help of friends and family, or take help of a consultant. If you really want to run a successful business, you must translate what's on your head onto paper and look at the key parameters that would be risky. Look at the key parameters that are responsible for success, and those are the instances, or those are the parameters that you will have to manage in your business. There's no running away from really being disciplined when you become an entrepreneur.
Paula?
I would actually like to echo what Veena ji said. I think it's extremely important to be very clear about your plan in your head as well as on the paper. And if you're looking for an investor, put yourself in their shoes. If it's your own money that you're putting, why would you put it? Where would you like that money to be? Where would you like that money to take your company? And think of your company, not of you as an individual. And then whoever it is, whether it's a lender or an investor, it's your partner. It's a positive partnership, because you're all doing it in the interest of that company. So you want that company to really grow, and give commitment to that, to your company, and to all the stakeholders for that, whether it's your customers or your investors or your other partners. So if you have the clarity on that, I think it can be a very good journey. No journey is easy, but it can be very rewarding. Break it up into small achievements, but keep the end goal in mind, and I think that can be a good starting point to scale.
Great, Urvashi.
Here on finance discipline, both of them have told. So tell the women entrepreneur 4H. Like human being, we are very good to keep contacts with human beings. Develop your network to increase your net worth. And I will say always be happy. Happiness is a state of mind that will always help you in your business. Take care of your health. And fourth one, also observe your hobbies. So if you take care of all these 4 H's, I'm sure that you will be successful in whatever business you will choose. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. And I'd really like to thank the panel to have such an interesting discussion, and I hope it's been good for all of you there. Thank you.